Welcome to Rise and Energize, your high vibe recharge session for anytime you need a bit of practical encouragement, a mindset shift, or pep talk to boost your day. I'm your host, Morgan, and I love sharing stories, tips, and tricks that help us find the spark we need to move forward with purpose. Whether you're working on your career, your health, or your relationships, this show helps you stop overthinking and start stepping into the version of yourself you know you're capable of being. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I wanted to talk today about hosting hacks, although I will preface this with it's not really like typical hacks. Like I feel like when I think of hacks, I think of, little tips and tricks that make your life easier, or this special device that makes everything simple and the house is clean immediately and you have all the food you need for the thing and whatever. This is not like that. These are just, I guess, tips that I have that have worked well for hosting, and or you could apply this to attending a group gathering, but just anything that's coming up that is something that is additional to your regular schedule and you have some extra responsibilities that go with it. You're bringing a dish somewhere, or you're helping plan someone's birthday get together, or anything like that. So I think that around this time of year in the summer, I've said this several times, but we just have so many group gatherings that happen. People have barbecues, people have pool days, people have people have birthdays all year long, but I feel like I have a lot of birthdays in my family and friends in the summers. You have lake trips, you have all sorts of get-togethers, and maybe you're hosting and maybe you're not, but regardless, you probably have a dish that you have to bring, or you probably have a schedule that you have to keep, or you probably need to make a list of what to pack or what to wear or what to bring, and don't forget this. And sometimes it can just be chaotic or stressful. And I know growing up, we always loved having people over at the house, or we always loved hosting was just a big part of our family. But these are some things that over time, I feel like have helped me feel less chaotic and less stressed. Because the thing is, I love hosting, or I love going to gatherings and having fun. But at some point, is it worth it if you're just to get to that point, you're really stressed and anxious and overwhelmed, and maybe you've gotten in an argument with your spouse or your kid or your sister or your mom or whoever is near you because you're stressed out about the packing list and the chores that you have to do and the foods that you have to make, and I forgot this at the store, and all those things. So these are just some things that I feel like have been kind of saving my life whenever it comes to all these gatherings, and just keeping them in order and keeping myself sane and doing my best to not allow the stress of preparing for a get together or an event or anything like that to stress me out and make me a terrible person to be around leading up to the event, because you want to feel good in every part of the event, right? Including the preparation for it. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Hopefully this applies to you as well. I don't think it's just me that's having lots of gatherings now, because even with World Cup going on and just summer activities in general, I do feel like people are just having busier weekends and busier weeks. I've actually even had a few groups of people that in the last couple months, like last month or 2 months, really, we've had to celebrate a friend or family member's birthday like in the middle of the week instead of the weekends, just because weekends get busy and packed. So if you are feeling that way, here are some tips. I don't think they're groundbreaking or anything, but maybe just good reminders for yourself as you are going into a gathering or hosting an event or anything like that, that these are some things that could maybe help you. The first one is actually writing things down physically. And there is research to support this. I know I've talked about this before on the podcast before, that people have more success with their goals when they write them down. And especially people who write down their goals every day, like say that you have at the beginning of the year, you set 3 resolutions and one of them has to do with health, one of them has to do with work, one of them has to do with family, whatever. You set those resolutions. People who rewrite those every single day, those goals down, are like some crazy percentage, like 80% more likely to actually accomplish them by the end of the year than someone who doesn't ever write them down and doesn't write them down every single day. Now, you don't have to do that much when you're hosting an event. But I know for me, when I actually physically write something down, my husband and I were big iPhone notes app people that we put lists in there. That's how we use our grocery list every week. I really like it because we share it with one another. So we can see updates in real time. If he changes something or I change something, I add something, I delete something, or, he sees we already have this. It just is a nice way to keep our grocery list, and we can update it each week and mark things off as we've gotten them whenever we do go grocery shopping. But actually writing things down, the National Library of Medicine I was reading an article about this, so this is why I feel very validated by this. But the National Library of Medicine article was talking about studies that they performed, and that the conclusion was that actually writing things down is better for memory retention. So you're more likely to remember the things that you have to do instead of having to consult your iPhone list a million times before you remember what you need. And then the other thing that it does is it helps with better cognitive processing because you're engaging with the material more, or I don't know, material is probably not the right word, but you're engaging with the list more whenever you actually physically write it down. And this has genuinely been so helpful for me whenever it's the beginning of the week or I'm going into a weekend that's really busy and I really want to wrap my head around what's coming up just so that I am not panicking or doing anything last minute. And it's so worth it to take the extra time to just write it out and say that you're going into the weekend and you have plans Saturday and Sunday and you're bringing something and you have to wear a certain thing and whatever it is, just writing it down physically is so helpful. And then on top of that, making an actual schedule. So this could be like just a day schedule. Last month, I hosted a little birthday get together for my sister, and I was baking a lot of things and getting things ready and had something that I had to pick up and wanted to decorate and all these different things. And I remember at the beginning of the week, I was like, you know what? Sometimes the panic or stress or chaos that you feel internally is just because you haven't taken the time to really process what actually needs to happen. So you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So when I actually took like 5 minutes to sit down and be like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to get. So first off, writing down the actual list of, okay, what food items do I need to get? And then deciding what day I'm going to go do that. So, okay, I'm going to go do that on Monday. I'm going to get these 3 things for the party. So writing down the list for the store and actually physically writing it down, and then writing down a schedule for the day of. So knowing that, okay, I was making these like pizza bites with the sourdough. Well, the sourdough has to rest for a certain amount of time and grow for a certain amount of time, like bulk ferment for a certain amount of time. I guess it wouldn't be bulk fermenting because it's not a bulk period of time, but they have to rise. And so just really scheduling out when to do things and starting from the time. So like they were coming over, I think at 6 or 6:30. So starting at 6:30, okay, people arrive, and then working backwards from there is so helpful. Right now, if you are going into the week and you haven't done this already and you have things that you have to do this weekend or whatever, take a second to write down what those things are. Make a list for each thing, what things you need to pick up, include things like drinks or include things like, this actually is a hack, use disposable items. So like the foil pans, getting those. So back to my original point, putting things like the foil pans on that list too, just really racking through your brain of everything that you need. And then you can move on to the other categories like, okay, and what do we need to wear? And in order to wear that, is that thing in my closet right now? Do I need to do laundry before then? It's just so helpful to take a minute and write everything down and get your brain wrapped around what you need to do. And then once you do that, you have the list there. It's so helpful. You have the schedule there. There's no more guesswork in it, I guess. That's what I love about it, is that there's a path forward. It's like you're writing out instructions to yourself. It's super duper helpful. But genuinely, I do love a phone list, but actually writing things down is so helpful. So actually physically handwrite those things down. Another thing that I have started doing is adding the food that I need for the get-togethers to our regular grocery store trip. So if you regularly go to the grocery store, we usually do Sunday. Sometimes if we have D&D on Sunday or plans on Sunday and we're able to do it Saturday, we'll do it Saturday instead. I know a lot of people like to go on Mondays if they don't work full time. But whenever you go to the grocery store, I'm still getting used to this, but I've started doing it recently and I do feel like it's kind of saving my life. Obviously, there are some things that you can't get at the grocery store ahead of time. Like we are doing a lake trip with my book club coming up this weekend, and I didn't want to buy all of the fruits and veggies that I'm bringing on our usual Sunday trip because produce is kind of fickle. And so I didn't want it to go bad by then. So obviously there are some things that you can't do this with, but I went ahead and added things for my sourdough cinnamon rolls or like for my snack that I'm bringing to share. Those things I went ahead and added to our current grocery list. And I can't recommend this enough. I don't know why I wasn't doing it before. Whenever we make our grocery list for the week ahead, we meal plan and we list out our Monday through Friday what dinners we're going to have. And then we add the ingredients for the dinners to the list. This is in that shared note in the iPhone Notes app. So we add the ingredients to the meal plan for dinners to the actual grocery items list. And then we both go in there and we add whatever things we might want for breakfast or snacks or lunches. And then what I've been doing lately that I wasn't doing before, I would say I've been doing this like the last 2 months, is I look further out. Because before I would almost look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday as a separate week, I guess, or I don't know. Oh, I'll figure that out later. But I almost never feel like going to the store on Friday after a week of work. So instead of making myself procrastinate and not getting the things that I need for the weekend on our usual store trip, I've been adding them to the usual store trip. So it's really, really helpful because then if I do want to prep anything like the sourdough cinnamon rolls, it's kind of like a 2-day process. So now I have all the things that I can prep those Thursday night without actually going to the store again or whatever. It's just so helpful. A good example is we do D&D every other Sunday, and I always bring some sort of snack. But before, I was waiting until the last minute, waiting until Sunday morning or Saturday or Friday. And those are days that I just don't feel like doing mundane tasks like going to the store. Plus, you spend the more trips that you go to the store, you just spend more money and time and energy. It's just a waste. It's not very efficient. And so now I'm trying to plan what I want to bring for D&D earlier on so that I can add those things to the regular store list. I don't know if this is making sense or if this is just a given, but if you aren't doing this now, planning out your weekend with your week, I am guilty of not doing that. Almost looking at them like they're 2 different weeks, but then I'm not in prepared plan mode on Friday after a full week of work. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you're like me, then it might save you a lot of time, money, stress, and mental fatigue to just go ahead and do this when you're already in planning mode on Saturday or Sunday whenever you make your grocery list and you're getting prepped for the week. Another tip that might be a given, it doesn't always come natural to me, is make sure you're communicating with the people in your house. You're making this list, you're making this schedule, you're adding these things to your day, all of that stuff. That also affects the people that are in your house too. So it's really helpful if in the morning you make that schedule and you say, hey, just so you know, this time to this time, I'm going to be pretty nose down. I'm going to be prepping cinnamon rolls, or your day probably looks a lot different than mine, but I'm going to be doing this at this time, or I'm going to be doing this at this time. You can share your schedule with them. You don't have to be that specific, but a good example for me was the day that I was hosting for my sister's birthday. I communicated to my husband, hey, I'm probably going to skip our afternoon walk today with our dog because at that time I'll probably be wanting to prep food and decorations and whatever. And so it's really helpful to just communicate those things out loud, especially if you guys have a regular routine that's going to be disrupted. It's just really good to communicate that to the people that you're around or that you're living with. The last thing I'll say, and this kind of is more of an actual hack, is Hobby Lobby is the best place for decorations. I love it there. I feel like you definitely can go to Walmart or Target or wherever you want, but I have found that Hobby Lobby, especially their paper, is so cute. They have every style of paper. It's cheap and it's a big roll of paper, and it can just really bring some fun color or whatever aesthetic you want to bring to your party, but you can lay it out over the table. You can put it up on a wall. You can make a banner. I just think Hobby Lobby is the best. So if you aren't going there for cute decor or party supplies or anything like that, don't sleep on Hobby Lobby. I love it. It is an extra trip, but they have the cutest stuff and it's pretty cheap because everything there is like always 60% off or whatever. I kind of think that's a scam, but oh well. Anyway, hopefully these are helpful for you and you have fun at your group gatherings and your things that you're hosting here upcoming. And I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with a friend that could benefit from it. Like right now, or on social media and tag me so I can say thank you. Until next time, talk to you soon.